Once upon a time, the fairy best friend fairies were flying around for fun, when all of a sudden they began to feel very sleepy. Luckily though, they were just flying past Comfy Cottage, where Zzzerafina, the sleeping fairy, lived with a pet sheep, Sleepy. Sleeping fairies always live on clouds because they love them, and fairies always do things that they love. The very sleepy fairy best friend fairies arrived at Zzzerafina's fairy door and were just about to knock when all of a sudden Zzzerafina opened the door and covered the fairy best friend fairies in Fairy Club sleeping dust. "Oh no," said Zzzerafina, once the Fairy Club sleeping dust had cleared. "I'm so sorry, I didn't know you were out there," said a worried Zzzerafina. "That was my brand new batch of Fairy Club sleeping dust, and it's the sleepiest Fairy Club sleeping dust I have ever made. It makes you fall asleep so quickly. In fact, a little piece just landed on my little pet sheep, Sleepy, and now she's fast asleep already. I'm so sorry." "Oh, it doesn't matter, Zzzerafina," said the fairy best friend fairy with the long hair. "You can never get mad about accidents," said the fairy best friend fairy with a hat on. "We're so sleepy anyway, and we can't wait to be fast asleep and having lovely dreams." Then all of a sudden, everyone did a huge yawn. "You'd better get to the back of Comfy Cottage and lie down on the magic carpet as soon as you can. Otherwise, you will fall asleep right here on my doormat," Zzzerafina said hurriedly. Zzzerafina then went inside, and the fairy best friend fairies followed her into the Comfy Cottage, yawning and trying not to fall asleep. They all slowly and sleepily walked to the back of Comfy Cottage. The fairy best friend fairies lay down on the magic carpet, and Zzzerafina pulled a blanket over them. The blanket was as soft as a bunny, and the fairy best friend fairies snuggled into it. Zzzerafina tucked them both in, so they were very comfortable and ready to sleep. She then placed an already snoring Sleepy on the carpet next to them with his own snuggly blanket, and sprinkled Fairy Club sleeping dust over everyone. She put the bottle into a bag and said the magic words. "I wish upon the moon this night, lift up this carpet, please take flight." Shoo! Zzzerafina then sat down on the other end of the carpet, and whoosh! The carpet started to lift off the floor and headed towards the ceiling. Just before it touched the ceiling, the whole roof of Comfy Cottage magically opened up. The carpet flew through the open roof, then very slowly headed down towards the sleeping stars, where all the sleeping clouds can be found. It was already beginning to get dark outside, so they were just in time. Zzzerafina lived so high up in the sky that to get to the fairy sleeping clouds, they had to fly the carpet down and down and down, down and down, down and down. Once they had arrived at the sleeping clouds, Zzzerafina looked around to see if she could find the perfect cloud for the fairy best friend fairies to sleep on. And then she saw it, the most perfect sleeping cloud she had ever seen. It was pink and green and blue and orange and yellow and purple, and covered in the sparkliest and softest sleeping dust she had ever seen. She flew the carpet over to the sleeping cloud and gently laid the nearly sleeping fairy best friend fairies on it, then covered them in more of the sleepiest Fairy Club sleeping dust. "I want you to be very, very comfy and allow yourself to sink into the cloud," said Zzzerafina. "Don't worry, it's completely safe and impossible to fall through a sleeping cloud. I very pinky promise. Enjoy the feeling of sinking down and down into the sleeping cloud. Feel the soft cloud wrapping around you, keeping you warm and comfortable. You can't help but fall into the lovely deep sleep, Zzzerafina said as she sprinkled even more fairy club sleeping dust on them. The sleeping cloud has fairy magic and makes you so sleepy. Think about everything you love and everything that makes you happy, and allow yourself to have the best dream you've ever had. Just a little more, down and down and down and down and down into the cloud, getting sleepier and sleepier. Good night. The end.